People like you don't belong in first class, especially not in your condition. Carmen Rodriguez doesn't whisper the words. She delivers them like policy sharp and rehearsed as boiling coffee splashes across Zara Williams's 7-month pregnant belly. Oops, Carmen adds with a smirk. My mistake. What she doesn't know is that the quiet man in seat 1A, the one watching every move through wire-rimmed glasses, isn't just another passenger. He's Robert Thornfield, CEO of Atlantic Airways. And in exactly 4 minutes, he's going to destroy her career with a single phone call. The Tuesday morning chaos at JFK Terminal 4 bleeds into the cabin of Atlantic Airways Flight 847. London-bound passengers shuffle past the galley where Carmen Rodriguez adjusts her red lipstick in the stainless steel reflection of the coffee machine. Her brown eyes scan the first-class manifest with the precision of a border guard. 12 seats. 11 passengers she recognizes from frequent flyer lists and corporate bookings. One anomaly. Seat 3A. Williams Zara. No previous first-class history, no platinum status. The upgrade came through at the last minute using someone else's miles. Carmen's jaw tightens. She's seen this before. Economy passengers trying to sneak into her domain, her sanctuary of power where she decides who deserves luxury and who doesn't. The gate agent announces final boarding. Carmen straightens her uniform jacket and positions herself at the galley entrance like a sentry. Her 6 years of flying have taught her to read passengers the moment they step aboard. The entitled ones, the grateful ones, the ones who don't belong. Mr. Henderson from seat 2C boards first. Tall, silver-haired, wearing a suit that costs more than most people's monthly rent. Carmen's smile blooms instantly. Welcome aboard, Mr. Henderson. Wonderful to see you again. I have your usual scotch ready. Thank you, Carmen. Always excellent service. Behind Henderson, a parade of familiar faces files past. The tech executive from Silicon Valley. The pharmaceutical heiress from Connecticut. The oil executive from Texas. Carmen greets each one with practiced warmth, her smile genuine because these people validate her importance. They need her. They appreciate her. They belong here. Then Zara Williams appears. Zara moves down the jet bridge with the careful gait of advanced pregnancy. Her simple black maternity dress flows elegantly over her rounded belly. No designer labels, no flashy jewelry except for a small diamond wedding ring that catches the cabin light. Her dark skin glows with the radiance of impending motherhood, and her hair is pulled back in a neat bun that speaks to professional efficiency rather than leisure travel. She looks every inch the successful architect she is. But Carmen doesn't see success. Carmen sees disruption. Boarding pass. Carmen demands, her voice cutting through the gentle hum of pre-flight preparations. No greeting, no smile, just an extended hand with French manicured nails sharp enough to draw blood. Zara pauses, recognizing the tone she's heard before in boardrooms and boutiques and bank lobbies. The tone that says, "Prove you belong here." She pulls her phone from her leather purse, the movement careful and deliberate. "Good evening," Zara says, her voice steady and warm despite the chill in Carmen's demeanor. "I'm in 3A. Carmen doesn't look at the screen. She looks at Zara. Her eyes perform a practiced assessment. Skin color, hair texture, clothing price point, jewelry authenticity. The calculation takes 3 seconds. The verdict is immediate. "Are you sure economy boarding is through the main aisle, dear? This is first class. It creates confusion when people get lost." The condescension drips from every word. Behind Carmen, Sarah Mitchell, a 26-year-old junior flight attendant with nervous energy and eager-to-please eyes, glances up from her safety equipment check. She's heard this tone before. She knows what comes next. In seat 1A, Robert Thornfield adjusts his reading glasses and looks up from his newspaper. At 64, he has the patient demeanor of a grandfather and the sharp eyes of a man who built an airline empire from nothing. He's flying commercial today for a reason, and that reason is playing out exactly as he feared it would. He removes a small leather notebook from his jacket pocket and clicks his pen twice. The sound is barely audible over the cabin noise, but it carries weight. He begins to write. Tuesday, 7:23 p.m. Flight 847. Crew member Rodriguez. Initial discrimination observed. I'm aware this is first class. Zara responds, her voice maintaining its professional calm. She brightens her phone screen and holds it closer to Carmen's face. Seat 3A, Zara Williams. Carmen snatches the phone with unnecessary force, her nail tapping against the screen like she's trying to crack it. She studies the boarding pass as if searching for forgery evidence. Her lips purse into a thin line when she finds nothing wrong with the digital display. Fine. Carmen huffs the word expelled like toxic waste. 3A is window seat left side. Try to get that bag overhead quickly. We're on a tight schedule and I don't want the aisle blocked. Zara's carry-on bag isn't large, but at 7 months pregnant, reaching above her head feels like attempting summit Everest. She gestures gently to her rounded belly. I might need a little assistance lifting it. My doctor advised against heavy lifting overhead. Carmen's laugh is sharp and humorless. It cuts through the cabin ambiance like breaking glass. Several passengers turn their heads. I am a flight attendant. Mrs. Williams, not a porter. If you pack it, you stack it. That's the rule. If you can't handle your luggage, perhaps you should have checked it. The words hit Zara like physical slaps. Not because they refuse help, but because of the malice behind them. The deliberate cruelty. The public humiliation designed to put her in what Carmen considers her place. Heat rises in Zara's cheeks, but her voice remains level. I understand the policy, but I've got it. The voice is gravelly and low with the authority of someone accustomed to being heard. Zara turns to see Robert Thornfield rising from seat 1A. He's not particularly tall or imposing, but something in his presence commands attention. His gray suit is well tailored, but not flashy. His silver hair is neatly combed. His wire-rimmed glasses give him the appearance of a retired professor or grandfather. Carmen's demeanor transforms instantly like a switch being flipped. Her voice becomes syrup-sweet and thick. Oh, sir, please sit down. We don't want you straining yourself. She can figure it out. Robert ignores Carmen completely. His gray eyes meet Zara's with kindness and understanding. My wife carried 4 of ours. I know the drill. With surprising strength for his age, Robert lifts Zara's bag and slides it smoothly into the overhead compartment. The motion is effortless, graceful. A reminder that courtesy costs nothing, but means everything. Thank you so much, Zara says, genuine gratitude warming her voice. I really appreciate it. Name's Robert. He extends his hand. You're very welcome. Zara, it's a pleasure to meet you. The pleasure's mine. Now let's get settled. Long flight ahead. As Robert returns to his seat, he pulls out his notebook again. Carmen, busy rearranging items in the galley cart with unnecessary aggression, doesn't notice him glancing at her name tag before writing another entry. 7:26 p.m. Rodriguez refuses assistance to pregnant passenger. Displays discriminatory behavior openly. Customer service violation clear. Zara settles into seat 3A, the leather cool and comfortable against her back. For a moment, she allows herself to believe the worst is over. She adjusts the seatbelt below her belly, pulls out her pregnancy pillow, and reaches for her noise-canceling headphones. The plan is simple. Sleep until London. Dream of the architecture conference waiting for her. Focus on the future she's building for her daughter. But from the galley, Carmen watches. Her stare burns with undisguised resentment. This isn't over. For Carmen Rodriguez, who views first class as her personal kingdom, where she decides who deserves luxury and who doesn't. This pregnant woman in the simple dress represents everything she despises about modern air travel: the entitlement, the expectations, the assumption that comfort is a right rather than a privilege. In seat 2B, Miguel Santos adjusts his smartphone in the seat pocket, angling it to capture the cabin activity. As a digital marketing executive, he recognizes brewing drama when he sees it. His finger hovers over the live stream button on Instagram. Something tells him this flight is about to become very interesting. 3 rows back, Jennifer Hayes shifts uncomfortably in seat 3C. She's witnessed discrimination before, usually as a silent observer who wishes she had the courage to speak up. Tonight feels different. Tonight she tells herself she'll find that courage if needed. The cabin fills with the usual pre-flight symphony. Overhead bins slamming shut, seatbelts clicking, electronic devices powering down. But underneath the routine sounds, tension builds like pressure in a storm system. Carmen Rodriguez moves through her pre-flight duties with mechanical efficiency, but her eyes repeatedly drift to seat 3A. Robert Thornfield continues writing in his notebook, documenting everything. He's filled 3 pages with observations about crew behavior during boarding alone. This investigation, ordered by the board of directors after multiple discrimination complaints, is revealing exactly what he hoped it wouldn't. The captain's voice crackles over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Davis. We've been cleared for takeoff. Flight attendants, please prepare for departure." Carmen secures the galley and takes her position in the jump seat. But even strapped in her gaze finds Zara. The intensity of her stare makes several passengers uncomfortable. Miguel Santos quietly activates his phone's video recording, sensing that whatever happens next will be worth documenting. As Flight 847 taxis toward the runway, Robert Thornfield makes a final note in his notebook. Pre-flight assessment. Rodriguez displays clear pattern of discriminatory behavior. Escalation likely during service. Full documentation required. He closes the notebook and slips it back into his pocket. Outside the window, the lights of New York fall away as the plane climbs into the darkness. But inside the cabin, the real turbulence is just beginning. In her window seat, Zara closes her eyes and places both hands on her belly, feeling her daughter's gentle kicks. She thinks about her husband, David, probably reading bedtime stories to his sister's children right now, practicing for when their own little girl arrives. She thinks about the London conference where she'll present her sustainable housing designs to international developers. She thinks about the future she's building one architectural drawing at a time. What she doesn't think about is the storm gathering in the galley where Carmen Rodriguez is already planning her next move. The seatbelt sign pings off 30 minutes into the flight. First class stirs to life as passengers reach for laptops, adjust reading lights, and settle into the rhythm of transatlantic travel. The cabin dims to evening mode, transforming into a cocoon of muted conversations and gentle engine hum. For everyone except Zara Williams' service begins immediately. Carmen Rodriguez emerges from the galley like a performer taking the stage. She radiates efficiency and charm as she glides down the aisle with her beverage cart. Her smile brightens for each passenger, genuine warmth, reserved for those she deems worthy of her attention. "Good evening, Mr. Henderson. Your usual Scotch, neat, perfect Carmen. You know me too well. The pleasure's mine. We have that aged Macallan you enjoyed last month." Carmen pours with practiced precision, her movements graceful and professional. Henderson accepts the crystal tumbler with appreciation. This is how first class should operate. Seamless, personal, exclusive. She continues down the aisle, lavishing attention on each passenger. 5 minutes discussing wine pairings with the couple in 4B and 4C. Personalized recommendations for the pharmaceutical heiress. Even offering an extra pillow to Robert in 1A without him asking. But when she reaches row 3, the temperature drops. Carmen stops beside Zara's seat but doesn't make eye contact. She stares straight ahead, waiting. The silence stretches like a held breath until Zara looks up from her pregnancy book. Drink, Carmen states. Not a question. Not an offer. A command stripped of courtesy. No menu presentation. No explanation of options. No acknowledgement of Zara as a human being worthy of the same service provided to every other passenger. I'd like some water, please, Zara says, maintaining her professional demeanor despite the obvious slight. And maybe some decaf coffee if it's available. Carmen's eyes narrow slightly. We're out of bottled water right now. Zara can see 3 unopened bottles of Evian sitting prominently on the beverage cart, condensation still clinging to the plastic. The lie is so blatant it feels insulting. Tap water is all I have for you. Carmen continues, her voice carrying the satisfaction of someone who believes they've just won a small battle. I can see the bottled water right there. Zara points out gently, her tone remaining calm and reasonable. Carmen's mask slips for a moment, revealing the ugly truth beneath. That's reserved for platinum members, Mrs. Williams. I can't just give premium inventory to upgrades. You understand? The words hang in the air like poison gas. Several passengers within earshot shift uncomfortably. Miguel Santos, pretending to scroll through his phone discreetly, begins recording. His marketing instincts scream that something significant is unfolding. Robert Thornfield lowers his newspaper and watches the interaction over his reading glasses. His jaw tightens imperceptibly. In his leather notebook, he makes another entry. 8:15 p.m. Rodriguez denies bottled water to pregnant passenger while providing same water to others. Clear discrimination in service delivery. Zara recognizes the trap being laid. If she argues, she becomes the difficult passenger. If she accepts substandard treatment, it validates Carmen's behavior. She chooses dignity over confrontation. Fine. Tap water, please. And the decaf coffee. Carmen's smile returns, but it's sharp-edged and triumphant. Coffee's brewing. It'll be a while. She fills a plastic cup with lukewarm tap water and virtually throws it onto Zara's tray table. No coaster, no napkin, no courtesy. The cup sloshes, spilling onto Zara's book. Carmen moves on without apology, her attitude transforming back to sweetness the moment she reaches the next passenger. But the damage is done. The cabin's atmosphere has shifted. Other passengers noticed. Some feel uncomfortable. Others pretend they didn't see anything. In seat 2B, Miguel Santos opens Instagram and begins a live stream. Flying Atlantic Airways right now, and you guys are not going to believe what I'm witnessing. 23 viewers join immediately. Then 50, then 100. Robert Thornfield continues documenting. He's seen enough discrimination complaints to recognize the pattern. It always starts small. A denial of service here, a discourtesy there. Then it escalates until someone gets hurt. An hour passes. The cabin settles into the peaceful rhythm of night flying. Passengers read work on laptops or doze. The dinner service begins filling first class with the aroma of perfectly prepared meals. For everyone except Zara. Carmen approaches with her service cart loaded with elegant covered dishes. Steam rises from beneath silver domes, promising culinary excellence. She serves each passenger with theatrical flair, describing ingredients and preparation methods like a sommelier discussing wine. When she reaches Zara's row, the performance stops. We've run out of the vegetarian option, Carmen announces without preamble. All I have left is beef. Zara glances at the service cart where she can clearly see 3 untouched vegetarian meals still in their warming compartments. I see vegetarian meals right there, Zara says, pointing to the obvious evidence. Carmen follows her gaze and shrugs. Those are spoken for. Previous orders. I didn't place a special meal request, but I'd prefer vegetarian if it's available. It's not. Carmen's voice carries the finality of a judge's gavel. Beef or nothing. The lie is so transparent it feels like a slap. Around the cabin, other passengers begin to notice the disparity in treatment. Jennifer Hayes in seat 3C watches with growing discomfort. She's stayed silent through the water incident and the coffee delay, but this feels different. This feels cruel. Actually, Jennifer speaks up, her voice tentative but clear. "I ordered beef originally. I'd be happy to switch if it helps." Carmen whips around to face Jennifer, her eyes flashing with anger at the intervention. "Ma'am, I need you to stay out of this. Meal service is my responsibility." Jennifer shrinks back, but her offer hangs in the air like evidence of Carmen's lies. Other passengers shift uncomfortably. The discrimination is becoming impossible to ignore. Miguel Santos's live stream now has over 500 viewers. Comments flood the screen. "This is disgusting behavior. Someone needs to report this flight attendant. Why isn't anyone helping her?" Miguel adjusts his phone angle to better capture the interaction. His voice, deliberately loud enough for Carmen to hear, provides commentary to his growing audience. What we're seeing here is a pregnant passenger being systematically denied the same service provided to other first-class passengers. This is happening right now on Atlantic Airways Flight 847. Carmen finally acknowledges Miguel's presence, striding over to his seat, with her authority radiating like heat from an oven. "Sir, you need to put that phone away. Recording crew members is against airline policy." Miguel looks up with the calm confidence of someone who knows his rights. "Actually, ma'am, I'm live streaming from my personal device in a public space. That's perfectly legal. Not on my flight, it isn't." "Your flight?" Miguel raises an eyebrow. "I wasn't aware flight attendants owned the aircraft." Carmen's composure cracks further. The challenge to her authority, combined with the growing audience watching her every move, pushes her toward dangerous territory. "I'm going to ask you one more time to stop recording, and I'm going to respectfully decline." Miguel responds. "I'm documenting potential discrimination, which is my right as a passenger and citizen." The live stream audience explodes with support. "Don't stop recording. This needs to be seen. Document everything." Viewer count hits 1,000, then 1,500. Robert Thornfield watches this escalation with the grim satisfaction of someone whose worst fears are being confirmed. He makes another note, 8:45 p.m. Rodriguez attempts to suppress passenger documentation of discriminatory behavior. Abuse of authority clear. Carmen realizes she's losing control of the situation. The pregnant passenger in 3A was supposed to be an easy target, someone who would accept poor treatment quietly rather than cause a scene. But now there's a witness with a camera and an audience. The power dynamic is shifting. She needs to regain control. She needs to remind everyone who has authority on this aircraft. Carmen returns to her galley and retrieves the coffee service. The pot has been brewing for over an hour, the liquid dark and bitter from overheating. Perfect for what she has in mind. She approaches Zara's seat with deliberate purpose, the coffee pot gripped tightly in her right hand. Steam rises from the spout like smoke from a weapon. "Your decaf coffee," Mrs. Williams Carmen says, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Zara looks up from her book, grateful that something is finally going right with the service. "Thank you so much. I really appreciate." Carmen tips the pot. The scalding coffee doesn't just spill. It erupts across Zara's lap, soaking through her maternity dress and splashing against her rounded belly. The liquid is near boiling, having sat on the heating element for over an hour. Zara gasps, her hands instinctively flying to protect her unborn child. The pain sears through the fabric, burning her skin and threatening everything she holds precious. "Oops," Carmen says, her voice carrying not a trace of genuine remorse. "My mistake." But her eyes tell a different story. They sparkle with satisfaction, with the cruel pleasure of someone who has just inflicted exactly the punishment she intended. The cabin erupts. Passengers jump to their feet. Jennifer Hayes rushes forward with napkins. Miguel Santos's live stream explodes with outrage as viewers witness what just happened. And in seat 1A, Robert Thornfield slowly removes his reading glasses. His gray eyes harden to steel as he finally sees exactly what kind of employee is wearing his airline's uniform. The war has begun. The scalding coffee spreads across Zara's dress like liquid fire. She doubles over instinctively, her hands forming a protective shield around her belly, while her breath comes in sharp gasps. The pain burns through the fabric, but worse than the physical agony is the terror that something has happened to her unborn daughter. Oh my God. Jennifer Hayes is on her feet, instantly rushing from 3C with a handful of napkins. Are you okay? Is the baby okay? Carmen Rodriguez stands frozen for exactly 2 seconds watching the chaos unfold. Then her flight attendant training kicks in, but instead of helping, she calculates damage control. "Ma'am, you need to stay calm," Carmen says to Zara, her voice taking on the tone of someone addressing a hysterical child. It was just a little spill. These things happen. Miguel Santos's live stream erupts with real-time outrage. His viewer count shoots past 2,000 as he captures every moment of the aftermath. "You guys are witnessing assault right now." Miguel speaks into his phone while keeping the camera focused on the scene. This flight attendant just deliberately poured scalding coffee on a pregnant woman. The live stream comments scroll by in a fury of disbelief. "Call the police. This is criminal. Someone help her." Robert Thornfield is already moving. He rises from seat 1A with the fluid grace of someone half his age, his newspaper folded and set aside with deliberate precision. His gray eyes assess the situation with the calculating mind of someone who has handled crises for decades. "Ma'am, we need ice immediately," Robert says to Carmen, his voice carrying the unmistakable authority of command. "And the first aid kit." Carmen's defensive instincts flare. "Sir, I need you to return to your seat. I'm handling this situation." "You're handling it." Robert's voice drops to a dangerous quiet. "You just scalded a pregnant passenger with boiling coffee." "It was an accident," Carmen snaps, but her tone lacks conviction. Around the cabin, passengers exchange glances that say otherwise. Sarah Mitchell, the junior flight attendant, appears from the rear galley with an armload of ice packs and towels. Her face is pale with shock as she kneels beside Zara's seat. "I'm so sorry," Sarah whispers, her voice thick with genuine distress. "Let me help you." Carmen immediately asserts her authority over her subordinate. Sarah, step back. "I'll handle this." But Sarah doesn't move. She's seen enough of Carmen's behavior tonight to recognize that handling this means making it worse. She continues applying ice packs to Zara's lap while speaking in soothing tones. "The important thing is getting you cooled down," Sarah says to Zara. "Do you feel any contractions? Any unusual pain?" Zara tries to speak but can only manage shallow breaths. The shock of the assault combines with pregnancy hormones to create a perfect storm of physical and emotional trauma. Carmen, realizing she's losing control of her narrative, doubles down on her victim-blaming strategy. "This is exactly what I was afraid of," Carmen announces loudly enough for the entire first-class cabin to hear. "When passengers get agitated, accidents happen." Mrs. Williams was clearly distressed about the meal service, and these situations always escalate. The audacity of the lie hits the cabin like a physical blow. Miguel Santos adjusts his phone to capture Carmen's statement while his live stream audience reaches 3,000 viewers. "Did you hear that?" Miguel narrates. "She just blamed the victim for her own assault. This is unbelievable." Robert Thornfield's patience finally snaps. He turns to face Carmen with the full weight of his presence, and something in his demeanor makes the entire cabin go quiet. "Ms. Rodriguez." Robert says, reading her name tag with deliberate precision. "I suggest you choose your next words very carefully." Carmen misreads his warning as a bluff from a concerned passenger. "Sir, I don't appreciate being threatened. I'm going to have to ask you to return to your seat, or I'll call the air marshal." "Please do," Robert says quietly. I think we should involve security in this conversation. Carmen strides to the galley phone with newfound confidence. If she can frame this as unruly passengers disrupting her authority, she can regain control of the situation. She's done it before with previous complaints. Security to first class. Carmen speaks into the intercom with official authority. We have a disruptive passenger situation requiring immediate assistance. Within minutes, 2 air marshals appear from the economy cabin. Officer Martinez, a professional-looking Hispanic man in his 40s, surveys the scene with trained eyes. Officer Johnson, younger and white, follows his partner's lead in assessing the situation. What seems to be the problem? Martinez asks, his voice neutral and official. Carmen launches into her prepared narrative. The passenger in 3A became aggressive about meal service. She was making unreasonable demands and creating a disturbance. When I tried to serve her coffee, she knocked the pot from my hands. I believe she may be under the influence of something. Pregnancy hormones can make women irrational. The lie is so bold, so completely divorced from reality that several passengers gasp audibly. Jennifer Hayes finds her voice. That's not what happened at all, Jennifer says, her voice shaking but determined. The flight attendant deliberately poured coffee on her. We all saw it. Miguel Santos holds up his phone. I have the whole thing on live stream. 4,000 people just watched this woman assault a pregnant passenger. Officer Martinez looks at the phone, then at Carmen, then at Zara, who is still doubled over with ice packs pressed against her burned skin. His expression shifts as he processes the scene. Ma'am Martinez addresses Zara with professional courtesy. Can you tell me what happened? Before Zara can respond, Carmen interrupts. She's clearly in distress. I don't think she's thinking clearly. Officer, I've been flying for 6 years. I know what passenger aggression looks like. Robert Thornfield steps forward, his movement drawing both officers' attention. There's something in his bearing that commands respect, an indefinable quality that marks him as someone accustomed to authority. Officer Robert says, his voice calm and measured. I believe there's been a serious misunderstanding about what transpired here. Carmen finally looks at Robert closely for the first time all evening. Really looks at him. Something about his confidence, his poise, the way the officers automatically defer to his presence makes alarm bells ring in her head. Sir, who exactly are you? Officer Johnson asks with professional interest. Robert reaches into his jacket pocket and produces his identification. Not a driver's license or passport, but a laminated ID card with the Atlantic Airways logo prominently displayed. Robert Thornfield. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Atlantic Airways. The words hit the cabin like a lightning strike. Carmen's face drains of all color. Sarah Mitchell's eyes widen in horror. Miguel Santos's live stream audience explodes with comments as 5,000 viewers realize they've just witnessed a CEO personally observe employee discrimination on his own airline. Carmen's world tilts on its axis. This isn't just any passenger challenging her authority. This is her ultimate boss, the man who signs her paychecks and has the power to end her career with a single word. Mr. Thornfield, Officer Martinez says, straightening unconsciously. We weren't informed you were on the flight. I prefer to fly unannounced, Robert replies. It gives me a clearer picture of actual customer service standards. His gray eyes find Carmen, who seems to shrink under his gaze. Ms. Rodriguez, would you like to revise your account of tonight's events? Carmen's mouth opens and closes like a fish gasping for air. 6 years of flights, thousands of passengers, countless small acts of discrimination that went unreported and unpunished. She's always been protected by the uniform, by company policies that favor crew members over passenger complaints, by the assumption that her word carries more weight than theirs. But now the owner of the company watched her commit assault, witnessed her lies to security, heard her blame the victim. There's no policy that can protect her now. Sir, There may have been some miscommunication, Carmen stammers, trying to salvage anything from the wreckage of her career. Robert's expression doesn't change. Miscommunication. I watched you deliberately pour scalding coffee on a pregnant passenger. I heard you blame her for your assault. I witnessed you lie to federal air marshals about what transpired. Miguel Santos's live stream has become a viral sensation. Share notifications explode across social media platforms. The hashtag #Atlantic Airways Fail begins trending in real time. This is live-streamed evidence of corporate discrimination, Miguel announces to his audience. The CEO just personally witnessed his employee assault a pregnant passenger. The stakes have escalated beyond Carmen's comprehension. This isn't just about her job anymore. This is about criminal charges, civil lawsuits, federal investigations. This is about Atlantic Airways' reputation and stock price and regulatory compliance. Zara finally speaks, her voice weak but clear. I just want to make sure my baby is okay. Her words cut through all the corporate drama and legal implications like a knife. At the center of this crisis is a pregnant woman who was attacked for the crime of existing while black in first class. Robert's expression softens as he looks at Zara. Ma'am, I'm going to personally ensure you receive the best medical care available. Captain Davis will radio ahead for emergency medical personnel to meet us at the gate. Carmen realizes with growing horror that this situation is spiraling completely beyond her control. The pregnant passenger was supposed to accept her place quietly. The other passengers were supposed to mind their own business. The CEO was never supposed to be watching. Mr. Thornfield, Carmen tries desperately. I think there's been a misunderstanding about my actions tonight. I would never deliberately stop. Robert's voice cuts through her lies like a blade. I have eyes, Ms. Rodriguez. I have ears. I know exactly what you deliberately did. He turns to Officer Martinez. I want this incident fully documented. Criminal charges for assault, civil rights violation investigation, full cooperation with any federal inquiry. Carmen's legs nearly give out. Prison time, criminal record, permanent unemployment. Her life is disintegrating in real time while thousands of people watch on live stream. Please, Carmen whispers, all her arrogance finally stripped away. I have a family. I need this job. Robert's expression doesn't soften. You should have considered that before you attacked one of my passengers. He turns to address the entire first-class cabin, his voice carrying the authority of absolute command. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for what you've witnessed tonight. This behavior is completely unacceptable and does not represent Atlantic Airways values or standards. Miguel Santos holds his phone higher to capture the CEO's statement. 7,000 viewers and counting, he narrates. The CEO is making an official statement. Robert continues his words, measured and final. Ms. Rodriguez is terminated from Atlantic Airways effective immediately. She will be escorted off this aircraft upon landing and will face the full consequences of her actions. Carmen collapses into the galley jump seat, her face buried in her hands. 6 years of employment ended in 6 words. Ms. Rodriguez is terminated effective immediately. Sarah Mitchell steps forward, her voice barely above a whisper. Mr. Thornfield, I should have stopped this earlier. I'm sorry I didn't speak up. Robert nods approvingly. What matters is that you're helping now, Sarah. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. Zara looks up from her ice packs, tears in her eyes but strength in her voice. Thank you, she says to Robert. All of you, thank you for not letting this slide. In the background, Miguel Santos continues his live stream documentation. This is how justice looks in real-time, people. This is what happens when those with power choose to use it correctly. The crisis isn't over. Medical evaluation, legal proceedings, and corporate investigation still lie ahead. But in this moment on Flight 847, somewhere over the Atlantic, accountability has finally caught up with Carmen Rodriguez. And Robert Thornfield has just reminded everyone watching that leadership isn't about protecting your employees from consequences. It's about protecting your passengers from your employees. The ice packs pressed against Zara's lap bring physical relief, but they can't cool the fire of memory that Carmen's assault has ignited. As she sits in seat 3A, surrounded by concerned passengers and facing the aftermath of deliberate cruelty, Zara's mind drifts back to the moments that forged her quiet strength. She is 16 again, standing outside Marcel's, the most exclusive restaurant in downtown Atlanta. Her mother, Denise Williams, holds her hand as they approach the mahogany doors. It's Zara's birthday, and her mother has saved for months to afford dinner at the place where Atlanta's elite celebrate life's milestones. "Remember, baby," her mother whispers as they walk up the marble steps. "Dignity isn't something they give you. It's something you choose to keep." The hostess at Marcel's looks exactly like Carmen Rodriguez. Same cold eyes, same practiced smile that vanishes when she sees who's requesting a table. Same assumption that black skin means economic impossibility. "Do you have a reservation?" the hostess asks, though she's already reaching for the takeout menus. "Williams." 8 o'clock. Denise responds with quiet confidence. The hostess scans her book with exaggerated care. "I don't see anything under that name." "Are you sure you called the right restaurant?" 16-year-old Zara watches her mother's jaw tighten imperceptibly. She's learned to read the signs of racial discrimination, the microaggressions disguised as policy, the assumptions wrapped in fake courtesy. "I made the reservation 3 weeks ago," Denise says, pulling out her confirmation receipt. "Spoke to someone named David." The hostess examines the paper like it's written in hieroglyphics. "This looks unusual. We don't normally take reservations this far in advance for parties of 2. Behind them, a white family approaches without a reservation and gets seated immediately at a prime table by the window. The contrast is deliberate, designed to send a message about who belongs and who doesn't. Denise Williams makes a choice that will shape her daughter's entire approach to adversity. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't demand to speak to a manager. Instead, she turns to Zara with a calm smile. "Come on, baby. Let's find somewhere that deserves our money." As they walk away, Zara asks the question that will haunt her for years. "Why didn't we fight Mama?" "We had the reservation. Because, sweetheart, sometimes the biggest victory is not letting them steal your peace. We can't control how people treat us, but we can control how we respond. Grace under pressure is our superpower." That night they eat at a small family-owned restaurant where the owner recognizes their dignity without checking their bank account. But the lesson stays with Zara forever: respond to hatred with strength, not anger. The memory dissolves as Sarah Mitchell adjusts the ice pack, bringing Zara back to Flight 847. But her mind immediately drifts to another formative moment 8 years later. Zara is 24, fresh out of architecture school at Georgia Tech. She's the only black woman in her graduating class, a statistic that followed her through 5 years of studio critiques and professors who questioned whether she was really sure about her career choice. The job interview at Henderson & Associates is her dream opportunity. The firm designs sustainable housing for low-income communities, exactly the kind of work that gives meaning to blueprints and purpose to calculations. She arrives 15 minutes early, wearing her best suit and carrying a portfolio that represents years of sleepless nights and caffeine-fueled creativity. Her work is exceptional. Her grades are outstanding. Her recommendations are glowing. The receptionist barely glances up when she announces herself. "You're here for the assistant position. Actually, I'm interviewing for the junior architect role." The receptionist frowns and checks her computer screen. "That's unusual. Are you sure you have the right appointment?" Before Zara can respond, James Henderson emerges from his office. He's tall, white, and carries the confidence of someone who's never had his presence questioned in professional spaces. "Ms. Williams, I was expecting—" "Well, never mind. Please come in." The interview goes perfectly until it doesn't. Her portfolio impresses him. Her vision for sustainable design aligns with the firm's mission. Her technical knowledge exceeds his expectations. But as they discuss the position, Henderson's questions shift subtly. This work can be quite demanding. Are you planning to start a family soon? Our clients come from challenging backgrounds. Do you think you can relate to their experiences? Some of our contractors have traditional views. How would you handle resistance to your authority? Each question feels like a test designed for her to fail. Not tests of her architectural ability, but tests of whether a black woman can navigate white professional spaces without causing problems. Zara recognizes the trap. Answer too confidently, and she's aggressive. Show any uncertainty, and she's unqualified. Express concern about discrimination, and she's playing the race card. She chooses her mother's path, grace, under pressure. Mr. Henderson, I believe my work speaks for itself. I'm here because I want to design homes that change lives, not because I want to manage other people's comfort with who I am. The response is perfect professional and completely ineffective. She doesn't get the job. The position goes to a white male classmate with lower grades and less passion for the mission. That rejection becomes the catalyst for her independence. 6 months later, Zara founds Williams and Associates Architects. She builds her firm on the principle that excellent work transcends prejudice, even when it takes longer to prove. The turbulence on Flight 847 brings her back to the present, where Robert Thornfield is quietly coordinating her medical care with Captain Davis. But her mind has one more memory to process, the one that explains why tonight's attack feels so personal. 3 months ago, Zara is 6 months pregnant and shopping for baby furniture at an upscale boutique in Buckhead. The nursery section is filled with other expectant mothers selecting cribs and changing tables and rocking chairs for their future children. The sales associate approaches with the same expression Carmen Rodriguez wore tonight, professional courtesy masking personal judgment. Can I help you find something? The associate asks, though her tone suggests she'd prefer not to. I'm looking for a crib. Something in white oak if you have it. The associate glances at Zara's belly, then at her clothing, performing the same calculation Carmen made earlier. African American, pregnant, simple wedding ring, modest dress. The math adds up to assumptions about economic status and social position. Those pieces are quite expensive, the associate warns. We do have a budget section in the back. Zara feels her daughter kick as if responding to the insult. She places her hand on her belly and makes a silent promise. You will never be told you don't belong anywhere, baby girl. Mama's going to make sure of that. I'd like to see your premium collection, please. The associate reluctantly leads her to the showcase section where pristine white cribs display price tags that make her wince despite Zara's ability to afford them. This is our signature line, the associate explains with barely concealed reluctance. The craftsmanship is exceptional, but as I mentioned, they're quite an investment. Zara examines each piece with the practiced eye of an architect. She appreciates the joinery, the wood grain, the attention to detail. These aren't just cribs. They're heirloom furniture built to last generations. I'll take this one, Zara says, pointing to the most expensive model. And the matching dresser-changing table and rocking chair. The associate's composure cracks. Ma'am, that's over $8,000. I'm aware of the price. I'd also like to add the mobile and the lamp set. Zara pulls out her black American Express card, the same one that Carmen Rodriguez treated like suspicious evidence earlier tonight. The associate stares at it as if it might be counterfeit. The transaction takes 20 minutes longer than necessary, with multiple manager consultations and verification calls that wouldn't be required for other customers. But eventually, the purchases are processed and delivery is arranged. As Zara signs the receipt, the associate's attitude transforms with magical suddenness. Thank you for choosing us, Mrs. Williams. We appreciate your business. The words ring hollow because they come after the money, not before the judgment. Zara accepts the hypocrisy with the same grace her mother taught her. but she makes another silent promise to her unborn daughter. You will grow up in a world where respect comes first, not last, where your humanity is recognized before your purchasing power, where dignity is assumed, not earned. These memories swirl through Zara's mind as Flight 847 continues toward London. Carmen Rodriguez's assault wasn't just about spilled coffee. It was about the accumulation of every time someone questioned her right to exist in spaces they considered theirs. The difference is that tonight someone with the power to create change was watching. Tonight Grace, under pressure, met justice in action. Tonight her daughter's future became a little bit brighter because a CEO chose accountability over protection of his employee. As the ice packs finally bring relief to her burns, Zara realizes that this painful moment might become the catalyst for the change she's always hoped to see. Sometimes the worst experiences create the best opportunities to ensure others never endure the same treatment. Her daughter kicks again, and Zara smiles despite everything. "It's going to be okay, baby girl," she whispers. "Mama's going to make sure you inherit a better world than the one she grew up in." In Seat 1A, Robert Thornfield continues writing in his leather notebook, documenting not just tonight's events, but the foundation for the widespread reforms that will follow. Both of them understand that this flight represents more than travel from New York to London. This flight represents the moment when silent suffering transforms into visible change. The cabin of Flight 847 has transformed into an impromptu courtroom where justice is being served at 35,000 feet. Carmen Rodriguez sits in the galley jump seat, her career in ruins around her, while Robert Thornfield assumes the role of both judge and jury. Miguel Santos's live stream has become a viral sensation. The viewer count explodes past 10,000 as notifications ping across social media platforms. Comments flood the screen faster than anyone can read. Justice in real time. CEO shutting down discrimination. This is how you handle racist employees. Major news outlets begin picking up the story. CNN, Fox, BBC, and dozens of other networks start preparing breaking news segments about discrimination on Atlantic Airways and the CEO's immediate response. Robert Thornfield stands in the center of the first-class aisle, addressing not just the passengers, but the thousands watching online. His voice carries the weight of absolute authority combined with genuine moral outrage. "Ladies and gentlemen," Robert begins, his gray eyes sweeping across the cabin before settling on Miguel's phone camera. "My name is Robert Thornfield. I am the Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of the Board of Atlantic Airways." The formal introduction carries massive implications. This isn't just any employee witnessing discrimination. This is the ultimate decision-maker for a major international airline personally observing and responding to criminal behavior by his staff. What you have witnessed tonight represents everything that Atlantic Airways stands against. Robert continues, his voice gaining strength with each word. Ms. Rodriguez's behavior is not only unacceptable, it is criminal. It violates every principle of human decency and professional conduct. Carmen's face has gone completely white. She understands now that her career isn't just over her life, as she knows it is finished. Criminal charges, civil lawsuits, permanent unemployment. The weight of consequence crushes down on her like a physical force. I want everyone watching to understand Robert says, looking directly into Miguel's camera, that Ms. Carmen Rodriguez is terminated from Atlantic Airways, effective immediately. She will face the full legal consequences of her assault on Ms. Williams. There will be no corporate protection. No company lawyers defending her actions. No settlements that hide the truth. The live stream audience erupts with approval. Share notifications explode across social platforms as the video spreads beyond Miguel's followers to reach millions of viewers worldwide. Officer Martinez steps forward to address Robert directly. "Mr. Thornfield, We'll need to coordinate with authorities on the ground for formal charges. Already handled, Robert replies with efficient authority. My legal team has been notified. Metropolitan Police will be waiting at Heathrow. Criminal charges for assault and civil rights violations will be filed immediately. Carmen finally finds her voice desperation overriding her earlier arrogance. Mr. Thornfield, please. I have 3 children. I'm a single mother. I need this job. Robert's expression doesn't soften. If anything, it hardens further. Miss Rodriguez, you should have considered your children before you attacked a pregnant passenger. You should have thought about your family before you violated every principle of human decency. The exchange hits the live stream audience like an emotional sledgehammer. Here is corporate accountability in real time. No corporate speak, no damage control, no protection for criminal behavior. Furthermore, Robert continues, his voice rising slightly. I want everyone to understand that this incident represents a larger failure. Ms. Rodriguez wasn't acting alone. She was operating within a culture that allowed this behavior to develop and continue. He turns to address Sarah Mitchell, who has been quietly helping Zara with medical care throughout the crisis. Sarah, you've shown tremendous character tonight. Your immediate response to help Ms. Williams tells me everything I need to know about your values. Sarah blushes with a mixture of pride and embarrassment. I should have done more earlier, sir. I should have stopped this before it escalated. What matters is that you acted when it counted. Robert replies, that courage will be rewarded, not punished. The distinction between Sarah and Carmen couldn't be clearer. One chose compassion over compliance with toxic authority. The other chose cruelty over basic human decency. Miguel Santos provides running commentary to his audience, which has now surpassed 15,000 viewers. This is unprecedented, people. We're watching a CEO take immediate action against employee discrimination. No corporate bureaucracy, no delayed investigation. Justice in real time. Jennifer Hayes, who found her courage earlier when she offered to switch meals, speaks up again. Mr. Thornfield, I want to say that what we witnessed tonight was horrifying, but your response gives me hope. Other passengers begin to echo her sentiment. The man in 2C nods approvingly. The couple in 4B whisper their support. Even passengers from economy class, drawn by the commotion, peer into first class with expressions of disbelief and admiration. Robert addresses them all. Change happens when good people decide they will no longer be silent witnesses to injustice. Each of you who spoke up tonight, who refused to look away, who documented what happened, you made this accountability possible. The moment resonates far beyond Flight 847. In homes and offices and schools around the world, people watching the live stream see what corporate leadership can look like when it prioritizes principles over profits. Carmen makes one final desperate attempt to save herself. This is all about publicity for you, isn't it? You're just trying to protect your company's image. Robert's response cuts through her accusation like a blade. Ms. Rodriguez, if I cared only about corporate image, I would have handled this quietly. I would have transferred you to another route, required some sensitivity training, and hoped the problem disappeared. He steps closer to where she sits, his presence commanding absolute attention. Instead, I'm ensuring that your behavior becomes a matter of public record. Your actions tonight will be studied in business schools and HR departments and sensitivity training programs for years to come. The implications hit Carmen like a physical blow. She won't just lose her job, she'll become a cautionary tale, a case study in how prejudice and power create victims. Miguel's live stream reaches 20,000 viewers as major influencers begin sharing the video. Atlantic Airways justice trends worldwide. Robert Thornfield becomes a rallying cry for corporate accountability. Captain Davis emerges from the cockpit, his expression grim as he surveys the scene. Robert immediately briefs him on the situation and coordinates the emergency medical response waiting at Heathrow. Ms. Williams will receive priority medical attention, Captain Davis announces. We've arranged for paramedics to board immediately upon landing. Zara speaks for the first time since the assault, her voice weak but clear. Thank you all. I just want to make sure my baby is okay." Her words remind everyone of what's truly at stake. This isn't just about corporate policy or employee discipline. This is about a pregnant woman who was attacked for the crime of existing while black in first class. Robert kneels beside Zara's seat, his voice gentle but firm. "Ma'am, I want you to know that this incident will result in fundamental changes to how we train our employees and monitor their behavior. Your experience tonight, as terrible as it was, will help ensure no other passenger endures what you've endured." Zara nods, tears in her eyes, but strength in her voice. "I hope so. I hope my daughter grows up in a world where this doesn't happen." She will, Robert promises, because what happened tonight won't be hidden or minimized or explained away. It will become the foundation for real, lasting change. The live stream audience watches this exchange with growing emotion. This isn't corporate damage control. This is human compassion combined with institutional power to create actual justice. Officer Johnson addresses Robert with professional respect. "Sir, we'll need formal statements from all witnesses. This incident will require a full federal investigation. You'll have complete cooperation from Atlantic Airways." Robert responds immediately. No corporate privileges, no legal delays, no attempts to minimize what occurred. Ms. Rodriguez's behavior was criminal, and it will be prosecuted as such. Carmen finally understands the complete scope of her downfall. Criminal charges, federal investigation, civil lawsuit, permanent unemployment. Her attack on Zara has destroyed not just her victim's evening but her own entire future. As Flight 847 begins its descent toward London, the atmosphere in first class has completely transformed. Where tension and cruelty once dominated justice and accountability now prevail. Miguel Santos continues documenting every moment for his global audience. "This is what happens when those with power choose to use it correctly," he narrates. "This is how change begins." The plane descends through clouds toward Heathrow Airport, carrying with it a story that will reshape corporate accountability, challenge airline industry culture, and demonstrate that justice can happen in real time when leaders choose courage over convenience. Carmen Rodriguez stares out the window at the approaching lights of London, knowing she's about to face the consequences of a lifetime of prejudice that finally met its match in Robert Thornfield's moral clarity. And in seat 3A, Zara Williams feels her daughter kick again, a reminder that the future is still growing, still possible, still worth fighting for. 3 weeks after Flight 847, the world has changed. Carmen Rodriguez sits in a sterile holding cell at Her Majesty's Prison Holloway, wearing the gray uniform of someone who discovered that actions have consequences. The assault charges stuck. The civil rights violations triggered international legal protocols. The video evidence from Miguel Santos's live stream made denial impossible. Her 6-year career with Atlantic Airways has become a cautionary tale studied in HR departments and business schools worldwide. Law enforcement agencies use her case to train officers on recognizing discrimination in real time. Corporate executives analyze Robert Thornfield's response as a masterclass in moral leadership. Carmen's sentence: 6 months imprisonment, 2 years probation, permanent ban from aviation industry employment, and a $75,000 civil judgment. But the legal consequences pale compared to the social ones. Her name has become synonymous with workplace discrimination. Her photo accompanies every article about prejudice in customer service. She spends her days in prison, wondering how 6 minutes of cruelty destroyed an entire lifetime of possibility. Meanwhile, Zara Williams sits in the London conference room where the International Design Expo continues. Her presentation on sustainable housing for underserved communities has attracted global attention, but not just for her architectural innovations. Her story of grace under attack has made her a symbol of dignity in the face of discrimination. The burns on her lap have healed, but the scars run deeper than skin. Every time someone questions her presence in professional spaces, she remembers Carmen's smirk and finds strength in survival. Mrs. Williams, the conference moderator, announces your design for cost-effective, sustainable housing has generated unprecedented interest. We've received inquiries from 12 countries about implementation. Zara's hand rests on her rounded belly, now 8 months pregnant. Her daughter kicks frequently as if eager to enter a world that her mother is actively improving. Architecture isn't just about buildings, Zara responds to the audience. It's about creating spaces where dignity is built into the foundation, where everyone belongs by design, not by accident. The applause is thunderous, but Zara's mind drifts to the real change happening back in the United States. Robert Thornfield stands before the Atlantic Airways Board of Directors in a conference room overlooking the Manhattan skyline. 3 weeks have passed since Flight 847, and the transformation has been unprecedented. The Williams Protocol is now fully implemented across all Atlantic Airways operations, Robert reports to the assembled executives. Zero tolerance for discrimination isn't just policy, it's reality. We've terminated 14 employees for discriminatory behavior in the past 3 weeks alone. Board member Catherine Hayes raises her hand. Robert, some shareholders are concerned about the negative publicity from the flight incident. Stock prices dipped initially. Robert's response is swift and decisive. Catherine, our stock price has recovered and reached all-time highs. Passengers are booking Atlantic Airways specifically because they trust us to treat them with dignity. We've gained more customers in 3 weeks than we typically acquire in 6 months. The numbers support his claim. Atlantic Airways bookings have skyrocketed as passengers seek an airline that publicly demonstrates zero tolerance for discrimination. Competitor airlines are scrambling to implement similar policies to avoid losing market share. Furthermore, Robert continues, we're not just changing our own company. The entire industry is adapting to new standards because passengers now expect accountability in real time. The ripple effects extend far beyond aviation. Hotels, restaurants, retail chains, and corporate offices worldwide are implementing Thornfield Protocol's immediate termination policies for discriminatory behavior supported by real-time monitoring and customer feedback systems. Miguel Santos has leveraged his viral live stream into a career as a digital rights advocate. His nonprofit organization Witness for Justice provides platforms for documenting discrimination and connecting victims with legal resources. The Flight 847 incident changed everything, Miguel explains to a packed auditorium at Georgetown University. It proved that modern technology can make accountability instantaneous. When injustice is documented and shared in real time, the traditional corporate response of deny, delay, and minimize becomes impossible. His organization has documented and helped resolve over 200 discrimination cases in the 3 weeks since Flight 847. The model is simple: record share, demand accountability, and support victims through legal processes. Sarah Mitchell, the junior flight attendant who chose compassion over compliance, now serves as Atlantic Airways Director of Customer Dignity, a position created specifically to ensure that passenger humanity is prioritized over employee hierarchy. We've completely restructured crew training, Sarah explains to a gathering of airline industry professionals. Every employee undergoes monthly bias awareness education. Every passenger interaction is monitored through audio-enabled observation systems, and every complaint receives immediate attention from senior management. The changes aren't just cosmetic. Atlantic Airways has hired diverse crews, revised policies to prioritize passenger welfare, and created anonymous reporting systems that protect both customers and employees who witness misconduct. Jennifer Hayes, the passenger who found her courage during the crisis, has become a spokesperson for bystander intervention training. She travels to corporations and conferences, teaching people how to safely and effectively respond when they witness discrimination. I stayed silent too long that night, Jennifer tells audiences. I watched mistreatment happen and told myself it wasn't my business. but we learned that silence enables abuse. Speaking up saved Zara Williams and potentially countless future victims. Her training program, Courageous Witness, has been adopted by major corporations, seeking to create cultures where discrimination is immediately challenged by colleagues and customers. The legal precedent set by Carmen Rodriguez's prosecution has empowered prosecutors nationwide to pursue criminal charges for discriminatory behavior previously treated as civil matters. District attorneys who once viewed workplace discrimination as HR issues now recognize patterns of targeted harassment as criminal assault. Federal legislation inspired by Flight 847 requires airlines to implement real-time monitoring systems and provides whistleblower protections for employees who report discriminatory behavior. The Williams Act establishes criminal penalties for customer service discrimination and creates federal oversight for transportation industry bias complaints. In Atlanta, Zara's architectural firm has become a symbol of resilience and success. Williams & Associates has received $25 million in new contracts from organizations seeking to support businesses that demonstrate dignity under pressure. David Williams. Zara's husband answers the phone in their home office where architectural plans compete for desk space with baby furniture catalogs. Williams & Associates. This is David. Mr. Williams. This is the mayor's office. We'd like to discuss Mrs. Williams's proposal for affordable housing development. The city council voted unanimously to approve the project. The irony isn't lost on either of them. Discrimination intended to diminish Zara's presence has amplified her influence. Attacks meant to silence her voice have made her message reach millions of people worldwide. But the most meaningful change happens in smaller moments. A black businessman boards a flight in Chicago and notices flight attendants greeting him with genuine warmth rather than suspicious scrutiny. A Latina executive receives immediate assistance with her luggage without having to prove she belongs in first class. An elderly Asian passenger with limited English receives patient translation help instead of dismissive impatience. The cultural shift extends beyond Atlantic Airways to restaurants, hotels, retail stores, and corporate offices where employees now understand that discrimination carries immediate consequences rather than bureaucratic delays. 3 months after Flight 847, Zara Williams gives birth to Isabella Rose Williams in London's finest private hospital. The delivery is peaceful, surrounded by British medical staff who treat her like honored royalty, rather than a patient whose presence needs justification. Robert Thornfield sends a personal gift, a first-class lifetime membership for Isabella, ensuring that Zara's daughter will never face questions about her right to exist in any space. But the greater gift is the world Isabella enters, one where discrimination is no longer tolerated, where bystanders are trained to intervene, where corporate leaders prioritize principles over profits, and where technology enables real-time accountability. Carmen Rodriguez serves her prison sentence knowing that her 6 minutes of cruelty created decades of positive change she never intended. Her legacy isn't the fear and pain she inflicted, but the justice and reform her actions accidentally triggered. The Flight 847 incident has become required studying material in business schools, law schools, and corporate training programs. Students analyze Robert Thornfield's leadership decisions, Miguel Santos's effective documentation, and Zara Williams's graceful resilience as examples of how ordinary people can create extraordinary change. International human rights organizations cite the incident as a breakthrough moment when corporate accountability, digital democracy, and moral courage combined to defeat institutional prejudice. The story spreads beyond American borders. European airlines implement similar zero-tolerance policies. Asian corporations adopt real-time monitoring systems. Global businesses recognize that discrimination is no longer a local issue, it's a worldwide reputation crisis waiting to happen. 6 months after Flight 847 Atlantic Airways' annual report shows record profits, unprecedented customer satisfaction scores, and industry-leading employee retention rates. The company that chose accountability over protection has become the most trusted airline in the world. Robert Thornfield frames the final page of his leather notebook, the one where he documented Carmen Rodriguez's discrimination, and hangs it in his office. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder that leadership requires choosing the difficult right over the convenient wrong. The inscription below reads, June 23, 2024. The day we proved that justice delayed doesn't have to be justice denied. The day we learned that courage is contagious. The day we chose who we wanted to be. Zara Williams opens her own architectural firm's London office, specializing in designing spaces where dignity is architectural rather than accidental. Her first project, a community center where children of all backgrounds learn that they belong everywhere their dreams can take them. Miguel Santos's documentary about Flight 847 wins the Academy Award for Best Documentary Short. His acceptance speech is brief but powerful. This award belongs to everyone who refuses to stay silent when they witness injustice. Change happens when we stop recording and start acting. Sarah Mitchell is promoted to Vice President of Customer Experience, overseeing dignity training for airline employees worldwide. Her first initiative, mandatory empathy education that teaches crew members to see passengers as family members rather than potential problems. Jennifer Hayes publishes a best-selling book titled Finding Your Voice: How to Speak Up When Silence Feels Safer. The proceeds fund bystander intervention training in schools, workplaces, and public spaces across America. And Carmen Rodriguez. She serves her sentence, attends mandatory counseling, and eventually finds work in a call center where her interactions are monitored and recorded. She never works in customer service again, but more importantly, she learns to recognize the humanity in others that she had trained herself not to see. The changes continue rippling outward. Airlines adopt industry-wide bias monitoring. Restaurants implement customer dignity protocols. Retail chains create zero-tolerance discrimination policies. Corporate America recognizes that character matters more than convenience. But the deepest change happens in the hearts and minds of millions who watched Miguel Santos's live stream and decided they would no longer be silent witnesses to injustice. Flight 847 proved that ordinary people with extraordinary courage can change the world not through grand gestures or political movements, but through the simple choice to do what's right when it matters most. 1 year later, Isabella Rose Williams takes her first flight. Zara adjusts the carrier strapped to her chest as she walks through JFK Terminal 4, the same corridors where her nightmare began 12 months ago. But everything has changed. The Atlantic Airways first-class check-in area buzzes with diverse faces, passengers from every background moving through security with the confidence of people who know they belong. The gate agent, a young black woman named Keisha, looks up from her computer screen with genuine warmth as Zara approaches. Mrs. Williams' Keisha's voice carries reverence usually reserved for heads of state. Mr. Thornfield's office notified us of your arrival. We have everything prepared for your comfort and Isabella's safety. Isabella gurgles contentedly against her mother's chest, unaware that she's inheriting a world fundamentally different from the one her mother navigated. A world where respect comes standard, not optional. Thank you, Keisha. That's very thoughtful. The honor is ours, ma'am. You changed everything for people like me working in this industry. I've never experienced discrimination since the new policies were implemented. As they walk toward the gate, Zara notices families of every ethnicity moving freely through first-class spaces. Children who look like Isabella playing in premium lounges. Parents who look like her receiving 5-star service without having to prove they deserve it. The boarding announcement echoes through the terminal Atlantic Airways Flight 892 to London, now boarding all passengers. Welcome aboard our flagship aircraft. Zara boards first, not because of her ticket class, but because she's traveling with an infant. The flight attendants greet her like a beloved family member returning home. Mrs. Williams says, "James, the head purser, it's an absolute honor to serve you today. I personally attended the Williams protocol training. Your story changed how I see every passenger who walks through that door. Seat 1A awaits the same position Robert Thornfield occupied 1 year ago when he witnessed and stopped institutional cruelty. The leather is soft, the space generous, but more importantly, the atmosphere radiates genuine hospitality rather than conditional tolerance. Isabella sleeps peacefully as the plane taxis toward the runway. She'll grow up in airplane cabins where her presence is celebrated, not questioned, where flight attendants see a future architect or doctor or CEO, not a potential problem requiring management. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Morrison. Before we depart, I want to acknowledge a special passenger joining us today, Mrs. Zara Williams, whose courage and grace helped transform not just Atlantic Airways, but our entire industry. Mrs. Williams, thank you for making aviation better for everyone. The first-class cabin erupts in spontaneous applause. Passengers turn to smile at Isabella, recognizing her as a symbol of progress made manifest. This baby will inherit airplanes where dignity flies standard class. As they climb through the clouds above New York, Zara thinks about Carmen Rodriguez, who served her sentence and now works quietly in telecommunications customer service, monitored and restricted, but hopefully changed by consequence and reflection. She thinks about Miguel Santos, whose documentary sparked a global movement for real-time accountability in service industries worldwide. She thinks about Sarah Mitchell, now training airline crews across 5 continents on the principle that passenger humanity transcends company hierarchy. She thinks about Jennifer Hayes, whose courage to speak up inspired millions of bystanders to find their voices when witnessing injustice. Most of all, she thinks about Robert Thornfield, the CEO who chose moral leadership over corporate protection and proved that power exercised correctly can heal rather than harm. The flight attendant approaches with a warm smile and gentle voice. Mrs. Williams, can I bring you anything? Coffee, perhaps? For a moment, Zara's body remembers the scalding burn of deliberate cruelty. Then she looks around the cabin at diverse crews, serving diverse passengers with equal dignity, and feels only peace. Coffee would be lovely. Thank you. The coffee arrives in fine china, served with a linen napkin and genuine care. No test of worthiness. No calculation of deserving. Just human serving human with the respect that should be universal. Isabella opens her eyes and looks up at her mother with the wonder of someone seeing the world for the first time. In those dark eyes, Zara sees infinite possibility unencumbered by the limitations previous generations accepted as inevitable. You're going to fly everywhere, baby girl, Zara whispers. And everywhere you go, you'll belong. The plane soars over the Atlantic, carrying 3 generations of progress. Zara, who endured discrimination with grace until justice found her. Isabella, who will grow up assuming respect rather than fighting for it. And somewhere in the future, Isabella's children, who may never know that airplanes once separated passengers by prejudice rather than preference. Outside the window, dawn breaks over the ocean. Light spreads across the water like hope, spreading through hearts, steady and persistent, and ultimately unstoppable. Justice isn't about revenge. It's about ensuring the next person doesn't endure what you endured. Sometimes the greatest victories happen not when we fight back, but when we stand firm and let our dignity speak louder than their hate. The plane climbs toward London carrying not just passengers, but the promise that respect has no boundaries. Courage has no color, and change begins whenever ordinary people choose to do extraordinary things. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button to help spread this message of hope and accountability. Share this video with someone who needs to see that justice is possible when good people refuse to stay silent. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible true stories of courage overcoming cruelty, because when we stand together, change becomes unstoppable. Thank you for watching, and remember that your voice matters when injustice tries to win through silence.